I know, it's been crazy. I think one by one the guys just sort of pick a few things that they can improve on the camera, and that's essentially what it was. I think the initial starting point of Atomos was walking around a trade show, seeing external recorders, external monitors, and thinking how we can combine those together and improve the camera, just like you said, and they're constantly doing that. I mean, we did the same for ProRes was with the Ninja. We did the same with 4K out of the A7S a couple of NABs ago to make 4K really come on the scene. HDR last year, we were one of the lead brands to get that going. And HDR is still the theme for this year. I think this is the year where it's all being used rather than just a technology. So we're seeing that coming through, and of course, new models to suit.
Yeah. And in terms of HDR, you know, it's been probably 2, maybe 3 years of us talking about HDR, and you guys were fairly early on with the implementation of that. This year, it feels like we're actually making progress, and HDR is becoming not just a sexy thing to do, it's becoming a real viable way forward. And you guys, as far as I can tell, have really been leading the way in terms of brightness of your displays and the ability to show that across some of your devices. Could you just give us a bit of an outline of pre-Sumo, your HDR devices?
The monitor recorder category that we invented, that's exploded. I mean, the people, when you explain it, what we do to people for the first time, it's like you've invented fire. They're like, where has this thing been? You know, the fact that you can monitor and record on the one device, you know, throw in affordable media and audio recording. It's the all-in-one, and so that's been the popularity. It's the concept of what we've done, and it's every year adding another thing that the cameras can't do, that keeps us ahead of that and gives us the value that you want to put one of our devices on top of the camera. We launched the Flame series this time last year, really, a couple of weeks before NAB last year, and that was really one of the first HDR, especially the first HDR monitor really to hit a field monitor recorder. But I think the challenge has been the cameras have always been able to do it. The monitors have been the thing that haven't been able to do it. TVs in the home, monitor on the camera. And last year, you know, on the TV front, they announced lots of things at CES, but it takes the whole year to get that into the market. So I suppose 2016 was the year where we launched HDR as the next big thing, and people readily accepted it, said, yep, I get it. It's something that you instantly see and get that people are going to love in the home. But it took all of 2016 to get it into the televisions, for YouTube to really bring it on, which is, I think, once we get the distribution cranking, and YouTube's going to play a big role. They made big announcements in December of last year. So I think it took all of 2016 for people to cement the idea that, yes, HDR is the next thing, but the products came through that time. And as you say, 2017 is going to be where rubber hits the road, so to speak. It's going to really happen. So it seems like the same thing, just like you said. It's a larger form factor, so Sumo 19-inch adds recording for the first time to a production monitor. And for a lot of people, when we were showing that at NAB, they sort of scratch their head. You see that puzzled, why do I want recording on a monitor? And it's, as they talk their way through it, they sort of get it. Okay, you've got not only a HDR 19-inch calibrated screen for $2,500, which in its own right is amazing to be on set, but then by adding in recording, you've got proxy, you've got client copy, you've got backup. But what I think is even more important is the fact that you've got playback. By having recording and monitoring together, you've got playback for clients. Clients don't have to go anywhere near the camera on set at all. They've got total control of each of their clips, playback, fast forward, rewind, tagging. They can tag their favorites, rejects. So that interaction the client has on set is one thing. You throw in the DIT card and being able to have scopes on the monitor as well as the recorded content, 422, 10-bit ProRes quality. It's phenomenal, they're merging them together. What we're using on the back, as this swings around, you'll see the quad-link SDI that we need there for the quad-link cameras like our F5, F55s. We've employed those 4 inputs, not just for a single high-quality 4K feed, but also for individual 1080, 60 feeds that you can switch. So now you can record the 4 ISO 1080, 60 feeds and also do some live switching on the output. So to turn this into a switcher as well as a monitor as well as a recorder. It's a little bit like saying, how would you use a Swiss Army knife? Because it depends on the use case, on where people use it. Some people use our models in live events, Pro AV, 4K playout with the playlist functionality. Some people use it as a client director's monitor, put a set of shape handles around it, and you've got a director's monitor. So, and I think this is going to be exactly the same thing. For one-man band operators that can do live music events, 4 feeds in and do their own switching there, do the grading later on. So that's a clear target. But I think just on set as well, the inspiration behind it came when Jeremy, our CEO, co-founder, was on set at Pirates of the Caribbean, and just to see the number of these monitors that are used on set obviously caught his eye. And so we see that there's something like this is definitely going to be used, as you say, not just in one, okay, it's used for this, pack it up, use it somewhere else and move it around the production set. Well, one thing we are saying, we're not saying this is a reference grading monitor. So we're not trying to say you don't need to buy a BVM, Sony BVM $20,000 reference. If you are a Hollywood grading artist that needs the full gamut of HDR color, like your Rec 2020, DCI-P3, then you should buy that. But for the lion's share of people, if the question is getting into HDR means I have to spend $20,000 on a monitor, nobody's going to get into HDR. So what this is, it's full spec, ready to go in every sense of the word. Aluminium alloy, chassis, VESA mount on the back, continuous power for Anton power batteries and V-Lock batteries, heaps of mounting holes, direct XLR. So all the things, all the hallmarks you want of a production bit of kit will generate the cases it needs for sturdy, rugged, walking around with it. So all of that, full calibration ready, all of that is high end in its very essence. But from a grading point of view, if you're a professional grader, you need to buy that kind of model. But what this will do in an amazing way, and the important thing to know with HDR is there's 2 specs, just like Rec 709, a luminance spec and a color spec. And we do the whole 9 yards when it comes to the luminance side of things. So we're PQ, we're HLG, we can do log 2, HDR live on there. So that, in its own sense, having all that luminance range gives more to the color. And we can record BT 2020 and we can record the DCI-P3, and then from a display point of view, it's a Rec 709. But one-man bands and people wanting to get into HDR are going to find this an incredibly useful and easy to use tool to start using as a not a reference, but a referral to make sure that they're getting their grading right for HDR delivery. Q3 of this year, 2,499 in quid. It's going to be 1,995 GBP. So yeah, shipping in Q3 of this year.